So your pharmaceutical company is moving into the digital world. It's an exciting step, but there's one regulation that is absolutely critical to get right: FDA 21 CFR Part 11. You can think of it as the official rulebook that makes sure your electronic data is just as reliable as a signed paper document. Honestly, getting this wrong can be a huge headache. So today, let's break down exactly what you need to know to get it right.
Here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the basics, what Part 11 is and why it's so incredibly important in pharma. Then, we'll dive deep into the three main pillars of compliance: controlling your systems, ensuring data integrity, and handling electronic signatures. And to finish up, we'll lay out a clear, practical path to get your systems ready for any audit.
All right, let's jump right in with the fundamentals. Before we get into all the nitty-gritty details, what exactly is 21 CFR Part 11 at its heart?
Okay, so at its core, 21 CFR Part 11 is basically the FDA's answer to the digital age. It's the regulation that officially says, yes, you can use electronic records and signatures, but you have to be able to prove they're every bit as trustworthy and reliable as their old-school paper counterparts. It's all about building a system of what we can call digital trust.
Now, this regulation actually applies to a whole range of FDA-regulated industries, everything from medical devices to cosmetics. But for our purposes here, we're going to put a laser focus on its role within pharmaceutical manufacturing, because that's a world where the stakes for data accuracy and patient safety are, well, as high as they get.
So why does this one regulation matter so much? Well, the entire answer really boils down to one single, non-negotiable principle: data integrity. Data integrity is really the guarantee that your electronic records are the real deal, that they haven't been tampered with, corrupted, or lost along the way. From the moment a record is created to the day it's archived, it has to stay authentic and accurate. Part 11 gives us the framework to make sure that happens, because without that integrity, the whole concept of digital records just falls apart. You can think of data integrity as being built on four essential pillars. First, you need security to stop data from being lost or corrupted. Then, you need no falsification measures to make tampering really hard and obvious if it happens. Third is traceability, so you can see exactly who did what and when. And finally, there's non-repudiation, which is just a fancy way of saying a user can't turn around and deny an action they took. These four ideas are the why behind all the specific rules we're about to get into.
Okay, now for the how. How do we actually achieve this? The first pillar of Part 11 compliance is all about controlling the system itself. I like to think of this as building a digital fortress to protect your precious data.
And inside this fortress, you need some very clear rules. System validation. That's your documented proof that the software works exactly as intended, every single time. Access control is pretty straightforward. It's about making sure only the right people can get in. User authentication then takes it a step further to verify that the person logging in is who they say they are, usually with secure IDs and passwords. And of course, training is key to make sure everyone inside the fortress knows the rules and how to follow them. So, with the system itself secure, the fortress walls are up. The second pillar focuses on protecting the actual electronic records that live within it.
This is all about safeguarding the data throughout its entire life. You've got to protect records from being changed by the wrong people, have a rock-solid backup and recovery plan in case of disaster, and be able to pull up any record you need whenever you need it. But really, the heart and soul of this pillar is the audit trail.
Honestly, the best way to think about an audit trail is as a permanent, uneditable diary for your system. It automatically and securely logs the who, what, when, and why of every single action that ever happens to a record. This diary is the absolute foundation of traceability, and it's one of the very first things an FDA inspector is going to want to see.
That brings us to our final pillar, the digital handshake, also known as the electronic signature. So how do you make a signature on a screen carry the exact same legal weight as one written in ink? Well, Part 11 lays out some very specific rules for that.
Right, so an electronic signature can't just be a name typed on a screen. No way. First, it has to be completely unique to one person. It also has to include their printed name, the exact date and time, and, this is crucial, the reason for signing. Was it for approval, for review, for creation? And then the system has to link that signature directly to the specific data, creating an unbreakable, accountable bond.
So, what does this all look like when you put it into practice? Well, it all starts right here with security.
You define specific user groups, like your QA reviewers, and you give them very granular permissions, controlling exactly what actions they are and are not allowed to take. This is your access control in action.
Okay, so once your permissions are all set, you can build out your workflows. What we're seeing here is a multi-step approval cycle being created. This is what ensures that processes are always followed in a logical, predefined sequence. A record can't just skip to the end. It has to pass through all the required stages, like a review from quality assurance first.
And the result of all of this? You get a complete, unbroken chain of evidence. Every single login, every data change, every approval, it's all captured in a secure, time-stamped audit log. This is that permanent diary we were talking about, and it provides the full, traceable history that an FDA auditor will absolutely demand to see.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground: the what, the why, and the how. So now let's bring it all together and map out a practical path you can follow to achieve compliance.
So where do you even begin? First things first, get a handle on what you have. Conduct an inventory of all your electronic systems, then perform a risk assessment. Figure out which systems have the biggest impact on product safety. Use that information to develop your standard operating procedures, your SOPs. And of course, always have a business continuity plan for when things go wrong. And here's a key tip. Try to partner with software vendors who already get these rules and can give you systems that are built for Part 11 compliance right out of the box.
You know, when it comes right down to it, 21 CFR Part 11 is about so much more than just swapping out paper for computer screens. It's really a blueprint for building a digital manufacturing process that is fundamentally secure, totally accountable, and built on a solid foundation of trust and integrity.
And all of that leaves us with one final critical question. After walking through all these requirements, from system controls to those detailed audit trails, take a moment and think about your own operations. Is your data really ready for an audit?